let's talk about the 5 best players on the Texas football team. So again, that's going to be a little bit different. Gerald, I'll let you kick this off again. Who is your number 5?
Yeah, so my most important players were very offense heavy. My best players are going to be very defense heavy. I think I have number 5 at Trey Moore. I think Trey Moore is a guy who is very. I think Texas fans did not appreciate the things that Trey Moore was doing all the time, especially early in the season. There was a lot of talk about him not hitting those sack numbers that he had at UTSA and blah, 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 blah. But Trey Moore was, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, he was the dirty work guy. He was the guy who was going to seal the backside to keep you from getting a cutback. He was going to blow up an option on his own. He was the guy, the lunch pail guy, the guy who was just going to do all of those fundamental football things that you need to be successful, right? Defense, fancy stuff is all the rage, but like defense is really just playing fundamentals, right? Good fundamental defense will win you a ton of football games. And that's what Trey Moore brings to the table. Oh, and then when Colin Simmons, who will come up in this conversation later, I'm sure, came on later in the year, then Trey Moore got his sack numbers up. So he is a guy, he didn't lose the talent. He didn't lose the ability to bend the edge. I think he was drawing more attention, also playing really sound fundamentals. And then things shifted favorably. And we saw what I think a lot of fans expected him to be, which was a guy who's able to be very disruptive in the backfield.
No, 100%. He turned it on later in the year. I think, like you said, just getting used to the competition, and that does matter. And I think he did that. And you're going to see him slide inside, play a little bit more in there as well. So I think, again, positional versatility. They love that on Texas, and he's going to be able to do multiple things. Play inside, play a little bit of edge. I think he's going to have a really good year. Number 5 for me is Ryan Wingo. And the reason why is I think he has the most upside of any wide receiver on the roster. And I think he's going to be a really good football player. Hopefully the hamstring can get better. I know that's a big thing. He's going to, take off the rest of spring football. And I completely agree with that decision because I really don't care what he's doing April 7th. I do care what he's doing week 1 versus Ohio State. I'm hoping he takes the top off, plays with all that speed and athleticism that we saw last year. And I think he's going to be a really good football player for Texas for the next 2 years. And I don't think you're going to have him past 2 years.
I actually have him number 4 on my list. So we can, he's right there. Again, we saw what he can do. Incredible. Who's your number 4 before we move on to mine?
Number 4 is Michael Taft for me. I think Michael Taft is the veteran guy in the secondary. I think he was really, really damn good last year. We've seen a steady improvement with him year over year, and I think you're going to see that even more. I think he learned a lot from Andrew Makuba. I think he learned a lot from Jahdae Barrett, and I think he's going to be able to execute that on the field this year. I also think he's a very good leader. And I think he's going to be the biggest voice on that side of the ball, other than probably Anthony Hill. So I'm really excited to see what he can do as the elder statesman of the whole secondary. And I think he's going to have a phenomenal football year this year.
Yeah, I feel like I did a disservice to Mookie because I feel like he didn't make my most important players. He didn't make my top 5 best player list. And I feel like he was hovering right around. I honestly spent way too much time on these lists because I really wanted to make sure I got them right. But I think you're right about Michael Taft. He is from a linchpin perspective, right? People that are going to hold things together for the defense. I don't know if there's anybody more important or better at it on this team than Michael Taft. Now, he didn't make my list because I really went talent heavy for best players, less impact. But he was hovering right around there. I had him on my most important players list. And then I reconfigured it after I had lunch because it was just one of those things. But I have Ryan Wingo at number 4 on my list because he, like you said, we saw flashes of brilliance from him last year. We saw the speed. We saw his ability to locate in the high point of the ball. We saw his ability to run some pretty solid and crisp routes that put defenders in blenders, right? All of those things you want from your number 1 wide receiver, but he wasn't the number 1 wide receiver. Part of the reason why he was able to do those things, I think, was because there was so much attention on Isaiah Bond, on Matthew Golden, on Gunnar Helm, right? So defenses weren't playing to him. And so I'm curious to see, we see all of that talent and what the flashes of brilliance we got from him. I think he is one of the most talented players on the team, but what does it look like when he's the number 1 guy, right? When the safety's playing over the top of him, when he's drawing bracket coverage, what does that look like? Again, all the talent in the world, and hopefully one of these other guys pops off so they can't key on him. But what does that talent look like when teams are able to key on him?
No, 100%. I don't disagree with that at all. He was running 3rd in line, sometimes 2nd when Isaiah Bond got hurt. But overall, he wasn't the guy that, hey, going into this, we have to game plan versus this guy. That was Matthew Golden. some part of the season it was Isaiah Bond, and then it was Ryan Wingo. It's going to be squarely on Ryan Wingo from Jump Street. So it's going to be very interesting there. Who's your number 3?
Number 3, I have Manny Muhammad. I think he is a guy who he had a sophomore slump. Like, let's just call it out there, right? He did not look as solid last year in spots as he did his freshman year. I'm not sure what it was, what caused it. I'm not going to speculate it. I don't have sources, but there was something different between freshman year and sophomore year with him. That being said, we saw still what made him so great and so special as a freshman, while he walked on campus and was a lockdown corner, while he became Muhammad Island really quickly. And so that talent is still there. And I think hopefully in this spring and in the fall, that gets unlocked, right? He is a dude who can be and will be, I think, for Texas, a lockdown corner, lock down a side of the field, and just keep people from throwing to the side of the ball. He is a guy who can be very disruptive for a defense. We've seen it happen. We didn't see it as much last year as we did his freshman year, but I do think that whatever it was happening, I think they're going to work it out, and I really hope Manny Muhammad comes and lives up to what we expected from him, because he can be a lockdown corner for Texas.
Yeah, that was my only reason for not putting him top 5 is because of the slump he had. Because freshman year, if he would have just kept that and maybe improved like 5%, he would be on my list, no doubt. Even if he just stayed the same, honestly, I would have had him there. But I just don't know what player I'm getting, because it was a complete 180 from year 1 to year 2 in not a good way. So I'm hoping he does improve. But we'll have to see. He definitely can pop on there, because I think he was like the first 5-star recruit at the cornerback position Texas had in like 7 or 8 years. So yeah, he's definitely got the talent for sure. My number 3 is Arch Manning. I have him at number 3 because I do not know. I think I know what he's going to be, but I do not know. We think all the time about what these prospects are going to be and how good they're going to be, but you really have no idea. Do I think he's going to be a very good football player? Yes. Do I know? No. And that's why I have him at number 3. And my top 2 are guys I already know are really damn good football players and have high upside. Now, if Arch Manning shows me he does, then guess what? Next year he'll be number 1. It probably won't even be close, because I don't think there'll be anyone approaching that next year. So for right now, I have him at number 3.
Yeah, my hottest take, I didn't have Arch Manning on this list, right? I did not have him on my top 5 best players. And I really, it's not a shot at Arch Manning, right? Don't clip this and be like, this guy thinks he's not that, because that's not the case, right? But I think from just like when I was stacking players, right, Arch Manning was like 6, right? It was right there for how I read it and how I felt about it. I thought Arch Manning was good last year when he came in, right? Really good. But I think the guys that I have on the list, I think just had a little bit more last year. And again, Arch Manning's going to step in, be the guy. And I think, again, like you said, if we redid this in September, he'd probably be number 2 or 3 on my list, because I anticipate him coming in and being that dude. I think Ohio State is going to be a great coming out party for him. I think it's going to be really great to watch. But ultimately, as it stands right now, didn't have him on my list. My number 2, Colin Simmons. I have Colin Simmons at number 2. There are not enough superlatives for Colin Simmons and what he was able to do. True freshmen do not come on campuses and play as well and as dominantly as he did toward the end of the year. It's just not a thing. Not a thing that happens. And again, we are in a different era where high school guys are more developed than they used to be. But even still, right, that is an 18, 19-year-old kid going up against offensive linemen that are 21, 22-year-olds, grown men bodies, right? He has not even grown into his paws yet. And he was still one of the best edges in the country, not the conference, in the country. That is wild to say, that a kid, true freshman, came in and set the world on fire in that way. And again, him coming on later in the year allowed Trey Moore to put up numbers, right? When he got better, the defense got better. Colin Simmons is a difference maker, period, end of sentence. Like, they don't make them like him.
No, I agree. And I think we're just going to have 2 and 1 reverse. I have number 2 as Anthony Hill. I think Anthony Hill is a spectacular football player all around. I think there's a couple things he needs to get better with. We saw a little bit coverage-wise he wasn't the best at last year, but I think he's got the athleticism and the size to be able to get better at that. There's no doubt in my mind he's going to get better at that. And then I think he had like 8 sacks last year. So as a guy as a primary as a linebacker with 8 sacks, all these tackles for loss, it's really that last aspect of his game is dropping into coverage and being a good coverage linebacker. So if he can do that, I mean, the sky's the limit. Right now, you're talking probably a first-round pick if he does that top 10 type pick. So yeah. Texas hasn't had that since, I think, Derek Johnson. So at that position.
Yeah, and again, like you said, we have them flipped. I have Anthony Hill as my most talented or my best player on the team. And again, much like Colin Simmons, words are hard to describe. Like, again, he came on campus, was the best linebacker in that room early, came in, blew things up. And as a freshman, being able to just go out there and be like, play positionless football is wild, right? Just go find ball, see ball, find quarterback, get quarterback, right? That was his game as a freshman. We saw him step up pretty significantly as a linebacker, starting at late in that year, but ultimately this last year, he was the dude, right? And he made the defense go. He was the reason why, for a lot of days, that Texas defense was really, really nasty. Now, again, he had the advantage of having some really good defensive tackles in front of him, but his ability to go and make plays, go and be explosive, go and be violent, go and fit for the run, whatever, like he did basically everything they asked him to. He got picked on in a couple of games in pass coverage, but again, that's something that he can grow on. They do not make linebackers like Anthony Hill, and especially, and this is again my controversial take, the state of Texas doesn't put out that many elite linebackers, and so him not only being an elite linebacker, but being an in-state guy, like you cannot overstate not just the on the field impact, but the impact as an in-state kid he had for Texas. That's why he's number one on my list.
Yeah, number one for me, you already talked about Colin Simmons. I think this guy has the potential to be the number one overall pick. That's how good I think he is. I mean, 8.5 sacks as a freshman. Let's just say he does that again. So we're talking 24 sacks over 3 years. That's a hell of a career for a college football player. And that's going to put you, especially in the SEC, going to put you as a top 10 pick. And if he improves on that, let's say he improves 1 sack every year, we're talking 9, 10, and then a couple forced fumbles. I mean, it was a realistic shot as a number one overall pick, and PFF's already comparing him to guys like Von Miller and stuff like that. So overall, I think he has the potential to be the highest drafted player on this whole Texas roster, and that's including Arch Manning, and that says a lot. So that's why I have him number one. I will say this. I wish he wouldn't have changed his number. I like 11 more than 1 personally as an edge guy, so that's a little ding for him in my book.
I'm with you there. I 11 was cool. 11 looks real cool. Like the single digits are great. I also still believe that the biggest player on the field should get number 0. That's my personal conviction. But Collins 11 was elite. Like, why did you change it?
Yeah, it's doubled 1. That's all it is. So, the
number of sacks he's going to get in 2025.
Yeah, let's hope. That'd be awesome. Yeah, then if he gets 11 sacks, he's got to switch back to 11. That's the rule. So that's our top 5 best players for Texas.